commissioner of labor statistics today. They fired him because the jobs report came out and it wasn't what the Trump administration wanted. Because it was so bad that the Trump administration has gotten a massive amount of backlash. Yeah, and not just because the month of July only produced 77,000 jobs, but because they went back to June and May and they reduced those numbers, like by a lot. I believe June was like 19,000 when they said it was like 144,000. Now they're gonna fire the person who put those statistics out. So what do we all think is gonna happen next month? That's the question. Now they're going to replace him with someone who's going to put out numbers that the Trump administration wants to see. And then everybody's going to say, look at all these great numbers. You see, nothing to worry about, but they won't be real. But if you want to believe next month's number, go ahead. We're all living in a circus anyways, right?
Guys, this is bad news. I own a recruiting firm, and the jobs report came out today, August 1st, and only 73,000 jobs were added in July. That's the weakest report in over a decade, but that's not the worst part. The last 2 months were actually revised down by 258,000 jobs, and unemployment actually ticked up to 4.2%. This is not a slowdown. This is a stall. And at the same time, prices are going up due to the tariffs, and imports are getting more expensive, and food and tech, all of our prices are going up. So inflation is going up. Consumers are spending less, wanting to save more, and confidence is dropping fast. So companies aren't hiring, but they're also not laying off. And that is a weird pressure cooker moment for our economy. And it's a bad recipe. Weak job growth, rising prices, cautious consumers, and no hiring. So pay attention. This isn't just a bad month. It might be a moment that the economy tips.
I wish I had good news for everybody, but this is very, very serious. And we cannot trust the Trump administration's reports or data. Sorry, Caroline. Far from it. Here's what's going on with company layoffs and the economy. We already know American Axle is suing the Trump administration. They're an auto parts manufacturer because they say the tariffs are putting them out of business and they're getting ready to lay off a bunch of people. We already know that Ford and GM's profits were completely wiped out the second quarter because of tariffs. P&G will be cutting 7,000 white-collar jobs. When I go through the list of companies that are laying off, they all attribute it to decreased global sales and sales within the United States because of economic uncertainty due to the tariffs and the increase in prices because they're producing parts that they have to charge more for, so people are buying less, all again thanks to tariffs. And also a lot of these jobs are being replaced by AI. And I want you to remember that this big beautiful bill put a provision in there for the next 10 years. Not one politician, nobody can touch AI. They can, whoever owns AI services, including Elon Musk, can do whatever they want without repercussions. So, MAGA, I want you to keep all this in mind. So P&G is cutting 7,000 jobs. Special mention, Kentucky. Kentucky is getting ready to lose 23,000 jobs because their three leading bourbon producers have all filed for bankruptcy. A lot of it having to do with Canada being one of their lead countries that they export their products to that are no longer selling their products because of the tariffs. Let's see. Microsoft, 9,000 jobs. Meta, Google, Amazon's cloud computing arm. Intel, a microchip manufacturer, is laying off 10,000 employees. Zoom Info, Chegg, PwC, Chevron, Boeing, JP Morgan Chase, Cargill, Wells Fargo, Marriott, UPS, 20,000 jobs. Dell, Nissan, 11,000 jobs. Intel, Microsoft, HBC, DHL, BP, Bosch, Jaguar, Sarepta Therapeutics, Alaska Air, Indeed and Glassdoor, which I find interesting, they post all the job openings, and I guess there just aren't as many job openings anymore. Procter & Gamble, 7,000 employees. Clark's, Allianz, Intel, 15,000 employees. Blue Diamond Growers, Walmart, CrowdStrike, IBM, MasterCard, Cisco, 7,000. They're a food supplier for schools and hospitals and restaurants and you name it. Stellantis, 2,450. Optum, part of United Healthcare. They have clinics in rural areas. They're going to be closing a bunch of their clinics, leaving a lot of people without a job. Mercury Marine, Intuit, NatWest, Ford. The list goes on and on. I just didn't want to sit there and spend the rest of my day writing it all. I am not including all the companies around the world that are also laying off because of Trump's tariffs. This has caused a worldwide economic dire situation. It's not just harming Americans anymore. And the numbers cannot be trusted from the administration. You can't trust their data, unemployment numbers, or what have you because of falling survey responses. Unemployment numbers rely on surveys being submitted to the government. And there's big concern that companies that have already shut down or are MAGA supporting companies are not turning in their surveys that they lost jobs. They eliminated jobs, causing higher unemployment. Because of budget cuts and staffing shortages in this administration, and because the Trump administration disbanded the advisory committees that are there to confirm statistical accuracy of data coming out of the Trump administration. When we look at the unemployment rate and how Caroline Leavitt and others portrayed as it's low, there's one number that's disturbingly high within that number, and that's the highest number to date. Over 25% of the jobs being occupied right now in the United States are leave those employees what's called functionally unemployed, meaning they make under $24,000, don't have any benefits. So they're essentially unemployed. They're in poverty. Over 25% of jobs in the United States are filled by people who are functionally unemployed because of how poor the pay is. And so that makes the unemployment rate look like it's great. There's so much more to the story. But MAGA, you're part of a lot of these layoffs for sure.